Just from memory. So the first item I have here is a water tower. By the way, I put this together on a flight just a couple of weeks ago. I just wrote out 15 objects randomly for this presentation. And they were in no particular order. There was no connection to these items in my mind whatsoever. I just wrote out 15 items. I memorized them twice. And then I forgot about it until the next day. The next day, I woke up and I cited it again. Recently, I showed this to a friend of mine. We did it over dinner. He did it twice, right there at the table. He was so tickled that he could do it. And then that night, he called me. And he started spouting all 15 off again. He was so thrilled that he was able to do this. So, again, just change your mindset. Allow the thought process to be that you can do this. So our first object is a water tower. You just have to remember that one. So our next item is a simple dog. Okay, just a little black dog or a dog is fine. Now, to remember the second item, what we're going to do is we're going to picture water pouring out of that water tower and landing on the dog, soaking the dog. Okay. So first object is a water tower. The second object is a dog. Our third object is a balloon. In this case, a black balloon, but specifically just a balloon. Now, when I see a dog get wet, what does he do? He shakes off, right? And what do? They expand almost. They look like they're getting bigger, don't they? Well, that's, in my mind's eye, almost like a balloon. It's expanding. It's getting bigger. So our third object is a balloon. Beyond that, our next item is a tent. And what I picture is that balloon breaking, that black balloon breaking and exploding next to that tent, and those little flecked pieces of balloon, those little pieces of balloon just flying all against the side of the tent, sticking to the side of the tent. So our next item is a tent, right? Okay. After a tent, we're going to have a black bear. So I want you to picture now the pieces of balloon sliding off the side of that tent and morphing into a big, tall, black bear. Okay. All right, so we're at 5 now, and I bet you most people in the audience have it. Bob, I said I wouldn't call you out, but you just came to you're too visible here. I know you can do it, so see, we'll go to the next slide. Well, so we'll back up to the first one here. There we go. Water tower's the first one. Name the next 4.
You got a dog.
You got a dog.
And a balloon.
A balloon.
A tent.
A tent.
A bear.
And a bear. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. Between the two of you, you had 5. Okay, between the two of you, you did great. All right. But seriously, folks, we are a third of the way there, and I bet you most people in the audience have those 5 down. Okay, and you just need a little nudge, but you got it now, right? Okay, and keep in mind you're on the spot. It's harder when you're on the spot. Okay. So again, we have a water tower that's leaking water and soaking the dog. The dog shakes off that water and expands as he's getting bigger. It looks like a balloon. When that balloon finally breaks, it puts all the little pieces of balloon against the side of the tent. Tent is our 4th object. And then finally all those little pieces of black balloon morph into a bear, a big black bear. Okay? So there's 5 objects right there. So that goes pretty quick, doesn't it? You've already got 5, so 15 all of a sudden doesn't sound too challenging. So our next item is a simple book. Okay? It's a book. And the way I remember that is I picture that big black bear standing on all 4s, almost like a circus animal, standing on this book. And that's, by the way, the crazier and more outlandish these pictures are, the easier they're going to stick in your mind, okay? So picture a book, picture this bear now standing on this book with all 4 paws drawn up into one tiny little spot standing on this book. That's our next object, okay? Now after that we have a chef. After a book is a chef. And the way I remember that is I picture that the book now specifically has become a cookbook, and thus a chef has come out to help us. So a chef has popped out of this book. It happens to be a very rude French chef. And he pops out of the book and he demands to use someone's telephone. Telephone is our next object. Okay, so we need somebody with a telephone. He's going, I need a telephone. Give me your phone. I need your phone. Okay? So picture that telephone he's demanding to use. Someone in the audience here looks at him very smartly and says, hey, Maxwell Smart, why don't you use my shoe phone? And he takes off his shoe, our next object, and he throws it at the chef, kind of snidely. All right? So we have a chef, a telephone, and then a shoe. All right, so let's see, who can do, I think we're about roughly 10 here. Let's see, Joe, can you give it a shot?
Okay, so we got the water tower. We got the bear. Excuse me, the dog.
You're doing good.
The dog, the balloon, the tent, the bear, the book, the chef. The chef then wants a telephone, and then we have a shoe.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Big round of applause for Joe. So what's the next one? Oh, okay. He's not a magician. Okay, not a magician. I forgot. Okay. So we're at the shoe. So now I picture the next item is a boat. Okay, and what I picture in my mind's eye is roughly the size of the shoe is a remote control boat. So I picture a little remote control boat with a shoe on top of it, driving through the water. So after a shoe is a boat. In this case, a little tiny remote control boat. And it's driving through the water, and as it's driving through the water, it bumps into the most absurd thing you could ever imagine floating on top of the water. If you can picture this chair just floating on top of the surface of the water, that's absurd. Naturally, it wouldn't float on top of the water if it floated at all. But as it's driving through the water, it runs into this chair floating in the middle of the pond, and it shakes that chair, just like this, okay? So chair is our next object after oats. Now, sitting on top of this chair is a little tiny red bird. A little red bird. That's our next object there. That red bird flies off because he got startled when that chair moved just like that. And that little red bird flies off and he lands on top of a mountain. Mountain is our next object. He lands on top of this mountain and we're curious what that red bird looks like on top of that mountain. So we grab a telescope and we set up our telescope and we look at that red bird sitting on top of that mountain. Telescope. Right. And finally, our last one is a television. We picture the image of that red bird being transferred from the telescope electronically into the television. Television's the last one. So, who's a brave soul? Who wants to give it a shot? Nobody? Okay, I'll do it. No, somebody's got to do it. Come on. Give it a shot?
I'll give it a shot.
You give it a shot. I know you can do it.
Let's see, water tower, dog, balloon, tent, bear, book, chef, telephone, shoe, boat, chair, redbird, mountain, telescope, television.
You got it. A big round of applause. All right, a big round of applause here for Craig. Excellent, excellent. So you can see with a little practice, even if you didn't get all 15, if you went home and did this just a few times, and I have some homework sheets for you later if you want to work on this, you can take one of these with you. And you can practice this a little bit. And the next thing you know, you can remember all kinds of things. You can be driving down the highway and go, gosh, I've got 3 or 4 or 5 things I need to do tonight when I get home. And it's not a problem to do it because all of a sudden you've got you've got a tool that you can just memorize a little bit.
Actually, Keir, spinal alignment will make your mind go right there. Isn't that true?
There you go.
A spinal alignment, okay. Oh, okay, you're a chiropractor. We'll talk after the show. All right. So in any event, so you can see how useful this might be in business. For instance, let's say you've got a client that you see on a somewhat regular basis. You don't know them that well, but it's somebody that comes into your business or you see them every once in a while. Joe, we'll say you're my client, okay? And Joe, where are you from originally? Chicago? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to picture is the Sears Tower with you, okay? That's a prominent thing about Chicago. So Joe is from Chicago, and let's see, what month is your birthday in? September? All right, so September. So we're gonna associate something with September. Now, for me, the strongest thing I think of, because he just said, I always want to go with my first inclination, okay? And I hate to dwell on past events or anything like that, but when I picture, since we're already talking about the Sears Tower, the next thing I would remember are the Twin Towers, okay? Because I can make that correlation. And then I can remember your birthday because of the September correlation there. And again, I hate to use anything negative like that, but sometimes the first thing that pops into your mind is the best thing to use because it's the strongest, okay?